It's that time again. Lucy, how's it going on that? How's it going on that chair? You should come over here. Come hang. It's tough. Sometimes it's tough having a co-host where she might join, she might not. It's just up to her. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. You know, having a cat as a co-host, not always easy. What's up, misanthropic cat? Speaking of cats, good morning, Karen. How are you? It's hump day. It's what they call Wednesday. You guys know why. Hi, Matt. How are you? I hope you are wonderful. I hope everybody is doing spectacularly well. Right? I don't even think that's a word. I'm still waking up. It's the morning. I've been up for a little while, though. But, still not a morning person. It's interesting how that works. I will never, ever be a morning person. It's just not going to happen. What's up, Emberg? How are you? What's up, Kevin? I'm doing great. How are you? Hello, George. Hi, Justine. Good to see you. Hello, Carson. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Susan. Hello, Jeffrey. Glad to see everybody. I hope everybody is having a fantastic morning or afternoon or evening, or you might be a day ahead. Which, speaking of which, all of our Australia tickets are available. Get them. Do not wait. Can't wait to see Australia. I've never been. Stoked. What's up, Christopher? Emberg points out that he signed the petition from Fight for the Future to call off Trump's executive order, which would give the Trump administration and future administrations control of the internet. They can just censor the internet. I don't see any red flags there. Thank you for signing that, Emberg. I encourage everybody to do the same, and please sign that petition. You can see that on a video that I published earlier this morning. It gives you the link to that petition. All right. I hope everybody is rocking it and everybody is doing spectacular. Speaking of rock, we'll start with the song of the day. Why not? All right. Song of the day was actually shared by Aaron in Australia. Aaron from Australia recommends this song of the day, which speaking of which, Aaron, I will see you soon in November. Can't wait for that. But Aaron recommends the song Masters of War. Now, that's a Bob Dylan tune. It's an anti-war tune. It's a folk protest tune. It's a classic tune. You probably already know it. But Aaron wants to specify that he likes the Ed Sheeran cover the best. I listened to the Ed Sheeran version. I liked it. It's actually, I'm not the biggest Ed Sheeran fan in the world. The style of music, I appreciate it. It's not really my cup of tea. I can't say I'm a huge Ed Sheeran fan. I've only heard the singles that he has. None of them really move me. I see how they're very contemporarily successful. I get it. And he's certainly a very, very talented musician. He's a very talented singer-songwriter. The music itself, just not my personal cup of tea. But he did an excellent job on this cover. He did a great cover of Masters of War. So shout out to Ed Sheeran for that. And that is the version that Aaron prefers. So feel free to check out Ed Sheeran's cover of Masters of War, or of course, check out the original by Bob Dylan. You know what? Check out both. You can totally check out both. I know we call it Song of the Day, but sometimes it's still one song. It could be multiple artists. We don't have a qualifier there. So there you have it. All right. Here is a video from CNN that is going to be quite a doozy. You guys ready to have some fun? Yeah, let's do this. All right, let's take a look at this. Here we go.
Owned by Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. The Washington Post is pushing back at criticism from Senator Bernie Sanders. The 2020 Democratic hopeful blasted the Post coverage of his campaign, and he argues that it is biased because it is owned by Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. Listen to Sanders in New Hampshire.
Okay, they ran 16 negative stories on Bernie Sanders in an hour. Remember when that happened? Remember when that happened in 2016? 16 negative stories on Bernie Sanders right in a row, all from the Washington Post. All of them not valid criticisms of Bernie Sanders, just like recycled smears that had no basis, no evidence. 16 of those, just all right in a row. We all remember that. So, gee, I wonder where Bernie comes up with the crazy theory that maybe the Washington Post is a little biased. And he points out the fact that they're owned by Jeff Bezos, who has no business owning a media outlet. That guy owns Whole Foods. He owns Amazon. So, he has a big stock in food supply across this country. He has a big stock in logistics. He is responsible for at least one half of all online commerce. And he owns a newspaper. And he's buddy-buddy with the Pentagon, and he has contracts with them that the rest of the public doesn't know about. Oh, and he tricked a bunch of cities into giving him billions of dollars worth of infrastructure data that he can do whatever he wants with. This guy is literally a real-life Lex Luthor. Man, how out of line for a politician to criticize said corporatist.
Yesterday.
Anybody here know how much Amazon paid in taxes last year? Yeah. See, I talk about that all.
Okay, so that's just a fact. Bernie Sanders is not calling out or attacking Jeff Bezos or Amazon. He is stating a fact. They paid zero in taxes. That's a fact. All right.
All of the time. And then I wonder why the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, doesn't write particularly good articles about me. I don't know why.
So, I mean, come on. He's the one guy. Bernie is responsible for the Stop Bezos Act. He has an act called Stop Bezos. So, yeah, you think that the newspaper that guy owns is probably going to be unfavorable towards you. So, again, just a basic, obvious observation. He's making a joke of it, which is good to do. Use a little bit of humor. So, and CNN is trying to call this a baseless attack. Let's continue.
He failed to provide any evidence of that. Those
16 negative stories in like an hour. 16 negative stories. He's also pointing out a basic conflict of interest where Jeff Bezos owns this newspaper. And this bleeds into the predatory nature of our lack of media structure. Now, CNN's not going to point that out. They're going to say that has no evidence that that's baseless. Why is CNN going to say that? Because they're owned by Time Warner. Again, all of the major news outlets in the United States are owned by entities who have no business being in news and information. That's why we don't have news outlets. We have propaganda outlets, which is what CNN is. It is a PR firm for the corporatocracy. That's what CNN is. That's what MSNBC is. That's what Fox News is. And that's why you get segments like this.
Those past comments along those lines were echoed.
They're calling it a conspiracy theory. All right, what all did Bernie say so far in this segment? What all has Bernie said? Bernie has said that Amazon paid zero in taxes, 100% true. He also said that Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. They don't really give him favorable coverage. They don't. There's evidence of all that. Again, 16 negative stories in like an hour. Like all in a row. So where's the conspiracy theory at? What's the conspiracy theory? Everything that they quoted Bernie on so far in this fluff piece is 100% provable and 100% accurate. Where's the conspiracy theory? All right, let's keep watching this drivel.
By his campaign and prompted this reply by Marty Barron, the executive editor for the Washington Post. Quote, Senator Sanders is a member of a large club of politicians of every ideology who complain about their coverage. Contrary to the conspiracy theory that the senator seems to favor, Jeff Bezos allows our newsroom to operate with full independence, as our reporters and editors can attest. Kirsten Powers is here, columnist for USA Today, and Brittany Shepard, national politics reporter for Yahoo News.
Okay, so we have a politician who's criticizing the corporate media and the structure of the corporate media. To break this down, we have three members of the corporate media. Gee, I bet this will be a productive panel. They don't have an academic who maybe studies media theory and writes about it. They don't have a media watchdog. They don't have an analyst. They just have three, well, I guess two, if you unincluding the host there. So they just bring in two other members of the corporate media. Here's the corporate media telling you there's nothing wrong with the corporate media. Man, how insightful. All right, let's see what else is here.
Good morning, guys. I was a little surprised, Kirsten, to hear Sanders say it himself, but it's not new to see his campaign really taking on the media without providing any evidence of bias. Just listen to his campaign manager, Faz Shakir. He was on Reliable Sources with Brian Stelter just a few weeks ago.
In about, a minute or so or 2 minutes or so, you're going to cut to commercial breaks and you're going to see some pharmaceutical ads. You're going to see a lot of ads that are basically paying your bills and the bills of this the entire media enterprise.
How is that an attack? Once again, that's a fact. That's a provable fact. If you turn on cable news, every third commercial is for Big Pharma. It's for the oil and gas company. You can just turn it on and watch it. These are all provable things. Where's the attack here? That's a fact. This is baseless. This is no evidence. What do you mean? The evidence is watch your freaking network. How is this a baseless, evidence-free attack? It's not. They're just making this up. The hosts are just making their call. Well, there's no evidence here. What do you mean there's no? He just cited who funds your network, who your advertisers are. Which all one needs to do is watch cable news, and boom, there it is. What you think it's mom and pop shops advertising on CNN? It isn't. So far, they've accused Sanders and the campaign of making baseless, evidence-free attacks. There has not been one baseless, evidence-free attack yet that they've cited. Just for the record. All right. Brian Stelter looks confused. Because I think he is confused. Because his job description says Media Watchdog. That is the opposite of what he is.
And what that ends up doing is incentivizing you and others to make sure that you're asking the questions and driving the conversations in certain areas and not in certain areas.
So this guy just gave the supposed media watchdog a basic education of things a media watchdog is supposed to know. Gee, do our advertisers bring about a conflict of interest? And by the way, we covered on this show, Brian Stelter admitted on Twitter he apparently doesn't even know who the advertisers are on CNN. That's what he claims. There's no way that's true. But that's what he claimed on Twitter. You can go find that video. We covered it here. So the media watchdog, whose job it is to hold the media accountable, that's Brian Stelter's job, apparently. He's a media watchdog, big air quotes. He doesn't know who's advertising with his for-profit commercial entity, CNN. You'd think if anyone should know the advertisers inside and out to make sure that there aren't any conflicts of interest, to make sure that there's no favorable coverage going on in the newsroom because of who the advertisers are, it'd be the media watchdog. But Brian Stelter is actually proud of the fact that he's allegedly clueless about who the advertisers are. So here he gets a free education from this guy. He should be paying this guy tuition dollars. All right.
So Kirsten, Brian followed up.
Oh, and that's all they show from it. That's all they showed. That's all they showed. I think we've seen enough. That's literally all they showed from that segment. They just showed him telling him, hey, by the way, this is a conflict of interest. This is a problem. And they're like, oh, look at all these. In this segment, they just they accused the Bernie Sanders and the Sanders campaign of making baseless, evidence-free claims about Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post. There were no baseless evidence claims against Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post. He stated a couple facts. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. There's not much favorable coverage about Bernie Sanders in the Washington Post. Those are all provable things. Every single analysis of media coverage on Bernie Sanders in the Washington Post reveals a huge negative slant. Every single one that's ever been looked into. So those are both provable things. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. That's a fact. That is a fact. Amazon paid $0 in taxes. Also a fact. So they're claiming that Bernie made two evidence-free, baseless attacks on the Washington Post. And then what do? They show a video of Bernie stating two facts, stating two provable, facts that nobody argues, like things that are just basic truths, undeniable facts. Here's Bernie Sanders making an evidence fact-free claim, and then they show a video of him stating two facts. Then they say that this other member of his campaign made another attack on Brian Stelter, and then they show a video of this guy telling Brian Stelter who CNN advertisers are and why that's a conflict of interest. Unreal. Oh, and let's look at the title of this video, shall we? Let's go ahead and take a look at the title of this video as it is on YouTube. Here we go. Bernie Sanders makes Trump-like attack on the Washington Post. So I am really not a fan of Trump. That kind of goes without saying at this point. And one of the more annoying parts about what's going on in the corporate media in regards to the Trump administration, now, whenever somebody criticizes the media, which, people who criticize the media are people who are paying attention to what the media is. Anybody with a functioning brain that knows what's going on criticizes the corporate media because they are a disaster, and that's putting it gently. People of all different political persuasions, the left, right, and everything in between, criticize the corporate media. People who come to this country observe the fact that we don't have a news system. That's something that just a basic person who's paying an inkling of attention can observe. Ask if you have friends from Europe or from Canada or from whatever else. Just ask them. Be like, hey, what did you notice about our news structure? They're likely to say, you guys don't have one. That's what they're likely to say. So anybody with half a brain criticizes our corporate media. But now, because of what's going on, Trump criticizes the media, which, again, when Trump criticizes the media, he's right for all the wrong reasons. He doesn't criticize the media because of the conflicts of interest that Bernie Sanders and other people bring up. He doesn't criticize the media because they're owned by entities who have no business being in news and information. He doesn't criticize the media because they cut funding for journalism to make the shareholders happy. He doesn't criticize the media because they favor infotainment over actual analysis and news. He criticizes the media because he feels like they're mean to him. That's why Trump criticizes the media. He thinks they're mean to him. And whenever Trump criticizes the media, it's like it's like Frankenstein turning on Victor. The corporate media made Trump possible. They love Trump because he's good for ratings. Trump loves them because he's just a PR specialist in the first place. That's all Trump does. That's all Trump knows. He plays the media like a fiddle. He thinks they're mean to him, and that's why he calls them out. It's a circus. It's theater. And at the end of the day, I guarantee you, there is no bigger fans of the idea of Trump getting reelected than the corporate media. That's CNN, that's Fox News, that's MSNBC. Trump is great for business, and they know it. All right. Thank you for sharing that segment. That segment was shared, by the way, by Ryan, actually, I don't know the first name, R. Hartwell. I actually went to school with a Ryan Hartwell. That's why I have no idea. It's just on our Reddit subsection is R. Hartwell. So I have no idea what that person's first name is. It could be, I don't know if it's, but I went to school with a Ryan Hartwell. So that's why I accidentally slipped and just said Ryan Hartwell. But I have no idea. If you are the Ryan Hartwell I went to school with, please let me know. Please drop me an email. The person, R. Hartwell, participates in our Reddit subsection regularly, drops articles and stories and videos there. If you are the Ryan Hartwell I went to school with, let me know. Even if you want to remain anonymous, I won't tell anybody. But anyway, I didn't mean to call somebody Ryan who may in fact not be Ryan. Anyway, I think I over-explained that. I think if our Hartwell's out there, they're like, yeah, dude, I get it. Yeah, I get it. I may or may not be Ryan, but I understand your explanation, and that's okay. Take it easy on yourself. All right. Let's go over to Democracy Now!, something they covered today. So this is going on in environmental news. And this is kind of interesting. So let's see what's going on here. Coalition of states and cities sued the Trump administration over rollback of coal regulations. In environmental news, a group of 22 states, 6 cities, and the District of Columbia sued the Trump administration Tuesday in an attempt to block the rollback of Obama-era regulations on emissions from coal-fired power plants. The new rules were announced by the EPA in June, and this allows states to set their own regulations for emissions and decide whether coal-fired plants should make improvements. Obama's Clean Power Plan sought to lower carbon emissions through federal regulations, but the plan never took effect due to multiple legal challenges. The new lawsuit claims the EPA has a duty under the Clean Air Act to limit carbon emissions. So what's going on here, let's take the state of West Virginia, for example. The state of West Virginia is facing a lot of serious environmental issues right now with coal top removal and stuff like that, fracking. And they have, people like Joe Manchin who are bought off by the fossil fuel industry, who are going to make these decisions, who are going to make environmental decisions that affect their lives. And they're bought by fossil fuel industry, just like many other representatives and senators are across the country. And now, because the EPA has laxed regulations, they can just kind of do whatever they want in the state level, and they're not going to take the people into account. So now they're suing the Trump administration because of this. And, it's a weird thing because I think that, the idea of the states taking it into their own hands is sometimes what needs to happen, but there's not always an option for that to be possible, because if your representatives are bought by fossil and fuel industries, whose will do you think is going to be served? The people or the fossil fuel industry? We all know the answer to that question. So that's an update from Democracy Now! All right. So speaking of media consolidation, we got an interesting story here concerning media consolidation, and this happened this week. So we're going to go over to the AP here. CBS and Viacom to reunite as media giants bulk up for streaming. The newly combined Viacom-CBS will invest in more movies and TV shows and try to sell more advertising. Well, all of this has a lot to do with news and information, doesn't it? Movies, TV shows, and more advertising, as it seeks to become a bigger player in the growing business of streaming video. Yet the bigger company still might not be big enough to be competitive, as larger rival Disney launches its own service in November, and streaming pioneer Netflix spends even more on original shows and movies. That isn't stopping Viacom CEO Bob Bakish, who will lead the combined company, to declare that Viacom-CBS will be one of only a few companies with the breadth and depth of content and reach to shape the future of our industry. So CBS and Viacom have merged. This is not the first time there has been such a merger between them. This is happening again, and they're teaming up. Now, why do you see all these media companies teaming up? First of all, media consolidation happens constantly, and the Trump administration has further laxed regulations on media consolidation. We've covered that on this show, so you see more of it happening. Furthermore, what's really going on here, the AP article tells you, they're prepping for streaming. So it's all about the medium, right? And right now, the main medium is the internet. We're taking part in it right now. We're taking part of it right now. Radio, slowly going the way of the buffalo. Even TV. So TV is still very relevant, but that's slowly changing, and it's all online. It's all digital. So what these big media companies want to do, they want to dominate the streaming sphere. Because once they dominate the streaming sphere, now keep in mind, if we lose net neutrality, it's over for the little guys. It's over. Shows like this will become a thing of the past. Independent media online will basically become a thing of the past, because these big media companies are gearing up to dominate the market. That's what they want. So in a post-net neutrality world, they'll be able to pay the fees to make sure their content loads properly. Little entities will not be able to do that. And our internet will look like cable television 2.0, or it will look like radio post the Telecom Act of 1996. Yes, that is what it's at stake. No, that is not an embellishment. And here you have yet another merger. All right. So I know that the Hong Kong protests are happening. I'm admittedly not following it super closely. I don't know a ton about it, but Marcus shares it with us. Oh, which, by the way, I forgot to, that last story was brought to us, compliments of Captain Jingle Pants. Captain Jingle Pants, thank you for being concerned about media consolidation. Much appreciated. But Marcus brings Hong Kong to our attention. So there are protests going on in Hong Kong. And I'll be honest, this is my first crash course in it. I know that the protests are happening. I do not know the details of why they're happening. So this is my first entrance into it. If you happen to be watching a clip at a later time and you're not familiar with Get Your News On with Ron or what it's all about, Get Your News On with Ron is the world's first viewer curated streaming news show. That means people tweet me articles, they send me ideas, and that's how we build the show. I'm seeing everything for the first time. So this is my first time seeing anything in regards to Hong Kong. So let's dive into it. Why Hong Kong is protesting. This is from CNN. This is shared via Marcus. Thank you for sharing this, Marcus. So Hong Kong is facing a major political crisis as it heads into a 10th week of mass demonstrations. What started as a movement against a controversial law has expanded into something much bigger. Over the past few months, the protest has evolved from millions of protesters marching through the streets to groups of yellow-hatted demonstrators storming into government headquarters and now shutting down the city's international airport. I believe of the recording of this, flights just resumed recently. While the majority of protesters have been peaceful, frustration is building. Protesters are now demanding greater democracy and an inquiry into the alleged police brutality during past demonstration. Hong Kong's billionaires are calling for order. So what's the history? Hong Kong belongs to China, but has its own currency, political system, and cultural identity. Many Hong Kong's residents don't see themselves as Chinese, but rather as Hong Kongers. That difference goes back generations. Okay. So let's see. Hong Kong's de facto constitution, the Hong Kong Basic Law, enshrines that uniqueness. It guarantees freedoms that are unavailable to Chinese mainlanders, such as the right to protest, the right to free press, and freedom of speech. One of the tenets of that basic law is that Hong Kong has the right to develop its own democracy, and previous Chinese officials pledged that the central government in Beijing wouldn't interfere with that. But in recent years, Beijing has repeatedly reinterpreted the basic law. Now it says it has complete jurisdiction over Hong Kong. Okay, so that's kind of what sparked all this. So that's the controversial thing that sparked all this, and now people are protesting this. They're protesting the Chinese interference with their ability to set up their own democracies, according to this article. And now it's expanding, and they're calling out other corruption, and the billionaires are calling for order. So this is sort of a common story. The billionaires and those benefiting from the status quo are calling for order because they don't want anything to change. The people who are affected by authoritarianism are calling for a change to the system. So there you have it. That's a basic crash course in what is going on in Hong Kong right now. Is there more to it? Of course there is. This is just a basic crash. Okay. I said crass. I meant to say crash. Crass, fun band. Crass probably has a lot of opinions on what's going on in Hong Kong. They're a very politically informed band. They probably have a lot to say. So, Marcus, thank you for that. I knew there were protests going on in Hong Kong. I didn't know much of the details. Now I know a little bit more, and we'll dive deeper into it as time goes on. Thank you for sharing that, Marcus. All right. Let's see what else we have today. Oh, so this, I'm excited to dive into this. Now, this was shared by William over on the Facebooks, which, by the way, you can feel free to Facebook message me articles too. And my Facebook page is just Romplicone Comedy. It's a page. Yeah, please like that page if you don't mind. But anyway, this is happening. And this was shared by William. Facial recognition program mistakes 26 California lawmakers for criminals. Now, you know I've been covering facial recognition a lot. I'm helping out Fight for the Future with the campaign to ban facial recognition. Facial recognition is dangerous technology that is not making us any safer. It is unregulated technology. Silicon Valley, who's developing this technology, is willing to sell it to private companies who can do whatever they want with it. A controlled study in London revealed that there are mismatches 98% of the time. So not only is this overreaching technology that we don't need, it's very susceptible to hacking, which happened. There was a Border Patrol office that got hacked. A bunch of travel photos were just stolen. So imagine these imagine these big databases full of our faces, full of information about us that may or may not even be accurate, that are hacked and then just taken by whomever. Gee, what could happen there? Gee, I don't know, probably a lot of identity theft. So this technology is unnecessary. It does not keep us safer, and it is inaccurate up to 90%, 98% of the time. That's not a passing grade, by the way, in case you were wondering, not a passing grade. So here's something that's happening in regards to this, specifically in California. And by the way, you can go to banfacialrecognition.com and sign the petition to get this banned. It's already been banned in 3 cities, Somerville, Massachusetts, San Francisco, California, and Oakland, California. Gee, isn't that interesting? Who were among the first cities to ban it? The cities where it's being developed. That should tell you something. All the people are like, oh, I think it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Oh, really? Why are the cities where it's being developed the first to ban it? Why is that going on? All right, so let's see. And this brings us to California as well. Facial recognition program mistakes 26 California lawmakers for criminals. Well, depending on who the lawmakers were, that might not be a mistake, right? See what I did there? When 2 California lawmakers came together Tuesday to champion a bill that would block police departments from using facial recognition technology in their body cameras, it was personal. Okay, well, that's actually a good thing. You know, I didn't know who the lawmakers were. I made a joke, just a general joke. You get the idea. After all, both lawmakers, Assemblyman Phil Ting, a Democrat from San Francisco, and Assemblyman Reggie Jones Sawyer, a Democrat from Los Angeles, I know nothing about either of those 2 people, by the way, were among the 26 state legislators who were falsely identified as criminals when their portraits were compared to a mugshot database. Ting, who has co-sponsored Assembly Bill 1215 along with the ACLU, argued that body camera technology was implemented across the state in order to build trust and police accountability. Instead of a tool that is really supposed to build bridges, it becomes a tool of surveillance. So they're trying to put facial recognition software in body cams, which, by the way, you know, the body cams themselves are a faulty technology, right? The body cams always happen to not work whenever an act of police brutality is about to happen. By pure coincidence, it's such a weird thing. Whenever an act of police brutality is about to go down, the body camera just stops working. It's like just this weird built-in malfunction. Like, oh, is police brutality about to happen? Well, gee, we have to stop working. Sorry about that. So this is faulty. And as they're saying, this is supposed to build trust in police, not make it a tool of mass surveillance. So they're trying to get facial recognition software on police body cams. So can you imagine what that would be like? Basically, a police officer is walking down the street and they decide, oh, gee, let's see what my surveillance sets off. It could set off that somebody is a criminal, that somebody is undocumented, and that might not be true even. So then they act on it. I can't see any. I can't see any red flags there. I don't see that as an intrusion on privacy at all. I don't see that as Orwellian and dystopian at all. Police walking down the street and they might just randomly crack a head based on faulty surveillance software. And even if the surveillance software wasn't faulty, you're not supposed to walk down the street looking for people to just throw in jail for no reason or deport for no reason whatsoever. So, wow. All right. So that's happening in California. Let me see what you guys are saying. George Allen, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. How are they going to draw votes away from Bernie, Ron? I vote for who I damn well please. As you should. Totally. How are they going to draw votes away from Bernie, Ron? Who do you mean by they? Do you mean the corporate media? Well, they're going to smear Bernie every opportunity they get. That's how they're going to try to take votes away from him. Will they succeed or not? You know, tough to say this time around. I hope they don't. But we'll see. DCK Punk, waiting for the Emma V takedowns to start. I'm not sure what that refers to. George Allen, those of us who vote for Bernie next year, all we have to look forward to is super delegates cheating us, Ron? ? Well, I hope we're loud enough that they can't cheat us. That's what I hope. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Are they going to try to cheat us? Absolutely. They're already setting the stage for that. They have a ton of candidates. Why do they have a ton of candidates? Because they want it to go to the second round so that the super delegates can jump in. That's exactly what they want. That's what they want to see happen. That's not a secret. So, you know, we got 2 choices. We try, and we try to be so loud that they can't cheat us this time. We have to be so overwhelming that it's so clear that the public support is on Bernie Sanders that they can't cheat us again. Otherwise, they're going to cheat us again. They're going to try no matter what. We have to be so loud that they can't stamp us out. And if you think that's an impossible task, then I strongly recommend getting involved in your community, because clearly you've abandoned any hope in electoral politics, which, hey, I don't blame you for getting to that conclusion. So jump in locally, because that's where you got the biggest shot to really make a difference anyway. That's what I recommend. Because, yeah, what is the DNC going to try to cheat again? Absolutely. Are the superdelegates going to try to weigh in and put their thumb on the scale? Absolutely. We know that's going to happen. We got to try to be so loud that they can't pull it off. All right. Tour dates. I got them. What a transition there. Transition into tour dates, which I got. I got some fun tour dates. Upper Midwest. See that? I've gotten out of the habit of saying Northern Plains. I said Northern Plains. You guys reminded me no one says that anymore. So I've gotten out of the habit. Upper Midwest, September, we're coming. September 4th, Omaha, Nebraska. September 5th, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. September 6th, Madison, Wisconsin. September 7th, Minneapolis, Minnesota. September 8th, Iowa City, Iowa. Tickets at romplacone.com. November, we're coming to Australia. Grandma and myself, we are coming to Australia. Tickets are available now for Adelaide, Melbourne, Perth, and Sydney. All tickets available for our Australian tour. Those are the 4 cities we're coming to. That's in November. Get your tickets now, romplacone.com. Do not wait. Grab those tickets now. Hey, if you want to support this show and its sustainability, and please do consider becoming a patron. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album, dialogues between me and my cat, Lucy. You get full stand-up clips not available anywhere else. That's for a Give What You Can level. And you help me keep this show going. You help me expand it. I want to do more guests. I want to do more interviews. I want to do more collaborations. I want to have a food segment. I need your help to make that happen. If you are so able, patreon.com/romplacone. Help me expand this show. And if not, I totally get it. I totally understand. Times are tough for all of us. So please like these videos, share these videos, make sure you subscribe, play the videos in a separate window so the ads go through. And don't just do that for me. Do that for all the content creators you know and love, because it helps sustain our channels and it helps keep what we're doing possible. Man, more media consolidation. And we know why that's happening. The media consolidation is going on because they want to dominate the streaming sphere. And when they do that, and especially if they're able to do that in the post-net neutrality world, that's going to make shows like this and all the independent shows you know and love, that's going to make them obsolete. It's going to push us out. So we got to fight back. We got to fight back, support net neutrality, support municipal broadband, start building city-owned internet, or start the process in that. It's not easy. I've been working on it for a couple years where I live. It's not easy, but we got to fight back. Steve Thomas, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. I'm in West Virginia, Ron. One of our state forests was mountaintop removed when coal mines were given permission by the state government. Yeah, and that's because of folks like Joe Manchin. Totally. And, Paula Jean Swearengin is awesome, and you really need someone like her in office to try to fight back against that. RD Patterson, sorry about that. RD Patterson, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. So let me give a round of thank yous here. Thank you, George Allen. Thank you, DCK Punk. Thank you, George Allen. Again, thank you, Steve Thomas. Thank you, RD Patterson. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for being amazing executive producers. Thank you for sharing the articles today, William. Thank you for the song of the day, Aaron. Thank you, Marcus, for the Hong Kong crash course. Thank you, Captain Jingle Pants, reminding us there's more media consolidation, this time between CBS and Viacom. And thank you for the Bernie vid, R. Hartwell, who may be the Ryan Hartwell I went to school with, or may not be. Someday I may or may not find out. In the meantime, I'll be back tomorrow. You know the drill here. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. That means you guys pick the stories and we talk about them. I'll see you all tomorrow. And until then, you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace. Lucy's over there. That's why I pointed over there, by the way. I know you're just like, he just randomly pointed at stuff. Is Lucy, there's a chair over there. Lucy's on it. She says meow. I say peace. Yeah, you know the drill. Peace. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace.